Comixwatch. Comixwatch. Comixwatch.
Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Comixwatch. I am back from my vacation. It was good. I'm feeling rested. And I am here with my super wonderful friend, Jared from Comics League. How you doing, buddy?
Thy kingdom come, my friend. Thy kingdom come.
Yes, there's only one reason you like this book. So yeah, we are reviewing the excellent graphic novel Kingdom Come, written and drawn by Alex Ross.
It's kind of true.
Yes. But before we get into that, real quick, I just want to say the colors for Screecher are finished. All 24 pages of it. Thank you, Art in Black. You are amazing. I'm bringing you back for issue 4. Now all that's left is the last 4 pages of letters, so that should be done here in the next week or so. So we're right on schedule for delivering it. The money should be hitting my account here in the next week or so. So we're looking like we should be able to go to print right when the funds drop, or at least a day or two afterwards. So we are on schedule, and that is awesome. But yeah, let's go into this book. So before we get started, Jared, can you tell us your history with this?
Well, here's the thing. So this was a book that I when I first got back into comics. I just randomly grabbed this at like a Barnes and Noble. I didn't know anything about comics at the time, so I picked it up, and immediately I was stunned by like the artwork, as we'll go through in the entire stream. But here's the thing: this book also has a very important like thing of DC history. This is what's up, Proud Destroyer? This is the first book that really mainstream Superman being with Wonder Woman.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why you love this book so much.
One of the reasons. In addition to, this definitely has more of the... So the reason why I like DC more than Marvel is because they've always weighed into, if you will, the concept of being like gods amongst men. And this one really weighs into it. And from a certain methodological / vaguely religious like factor.
Yeah, the read that I was getting is it's kind of like the dangers of nostalgia, or not. Okay, I actually take that back. Not the dangers of nostalgia, the benefits of nostalgia. I'm doing a 180 here, because like we're so rushed for progress, sometimes we lose what came before. You know.
Yeah, and the thing about Kingdom Come, so the context around this book is that Image Comics has just launched, and it's like exploding in popularity at the time because it's during the comic boom. We're not going to get into exactly like how Image exploded because that's a stream all in of itself. And at the same time, in the 90s, you have the comics that are getting very like extreme. Everyone's got like 8,000 pouches. Everyone's dying, getting their backs broken. So Alex Ross and Mark Waid, I say in that order for a reason, basically were like, no, that's not the way comics are supposed to be. Let's show the dangers of the more extreme superheroes. Yep. I agree, Brown.
Yeah, Brown. Definitely.
So, and now the cool thing about this is that it's drawn and colored by Alex Ross, and the thing about him coloring, he does all of his stuff with paints in terms of coloring, because one of the things that he said was that you can get more detail work if you actually do painting instead of like a traditional way of coloring a comic book. So really, he's giving you more content.
Yeah, like Mark Waid, Alex Ross. Okay, I'm banning old man jokes for this stream.
Okay.
You're starting to get too much with them, so I'm just banning them.
It's all good.
I knew what you were gonna say, but Alex Ross is definitely like, if there was a Mount Rushmore, he would be you could argue he would be the head. I'm not like in the top of it.
He is in the top 5 greatest comic book artists of all time. No question.
I would say no question top 3, maybe even top 2. But
Yeah,
definitely,
I'd agree with you on that one.
I think objectively top 3.
Yep. Objectively top 3. Exactly.
We could argue about the other 2, and I think that's fair. But he's definitely one of the greatest of all time.
The other thing is, can you imagine? So we've said that like a way that they can restore the Snyderverse through comics. Can you imagine if it's drawn by Alex Ross?
Oh my god,
bro! Drawn by the Snyderverse, drawn by Alex Ross.
That would be crazy.
So Jim Lee is in the second position, at least according to Brown. I would.
Okay. Here's objectively the top 3 right here.
Okay.
All right. Alex Ross, and this is in no particular order. Alex Ross, Jim Lee, Jack Kirby.
Yep, I would say that. Yep, 100%. So
yeah.
So with Kingdom Come, all right. So it starts off, and we have this apocalyptic vision of the future, almost a nightmare vision, of like the kind of ironic thing is you have like a bat versus an American eagle. I wonder if that's gonna tease anything in the future. Maybe a dawn of justice, if you will.
Maybe a Dark Knight returning.
Yeah, exactly. So you're seeing a vision of the future of this book with like knights and gods battling. And then we open up with Norman McCain. He's talking to who actually is, by the way, Sandman, as in Neil Gaiman Sandman. That's him.
Yeah, it's interesting that they brought all these together.
Yeah, because Sandman's all about dream stuff. And fun fact about Norman McCay, Norman is actually modeled after Alex Ross's father.
So it's personal.
Yeah, it's very personal. He wanted to like see his dad hanging out with like Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman and all that. So what we see here is that by the way, I like this page right here where you can see like all the superheroes like flying. Name your top 5 elements of the story after this, because we can do that, because that's a good one.
Yeah, we'll be doing a question and answer after we do the review, so sit tight, buddy.
Yeah, so McKay's kind of going through a crisis of faith, and so this is where we get this. By the way, Gotham Knights. Oh no, I'm triggered. So
there's kind of like what I love about this is there's kind of like a all the good stuff is no longer there. Like look at the detail. Go to the Gotham Knights panel. I want to see the detail. Like special sign game ball, last ever World Series. And I think they had talked about earlier in the page, but like another thing that happened like for the last time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What we discover is, so he goes to Planet Krypton, which is basically, I can't believe this restaurant does not exist, where all the servers are dressed like DC superheroes. And
they use this concept for Batman and Harley Quinn.
And if you notice, there's actual comic book like posters on the wall, like of the first Batman issue.
One of them, anyway.
No. That was the first issue of Batman.
Oh, okay. I was thinking Detective Comics. Okay.
Yes, different than Detective Comics, and they reference this later because there's a great moment that they bring up later in the book. But I like how they say like I always enjoy like the name of the foods. Like I'll have an American Way on rye. Give me a Black Condor straight up. All these are like names of superheroes.
So the other context is in the 90s, we had like this really big trend of themed restaurants. And this is what this is playing on.
Mm-hmm. It's like Pizza Planet. So then, and yes, I am that old for that. So then we get to, so this is now we get to the crux of the thing. So what we have here is just superheroes just battling in the city without regard for like collateral damage or anything like that. And this is what, so the context of this is that the Justice League has retired and left the more young, impulsive, more volatile heroes to take over. Almost like a young Justice, if you will.
I guess you could say they had some young blood.
Okay, yeah, that is excellent, my good man. That is good. So then, so yeah, it's basically we see a lot of these superheroes like actually like just fighting, not actually like actually like fighting for a cause, just fighting.
Yeah, it's like all the villains are gone, so they have to fight each other.
Yeah, exactly. And so then all the villains are gone because these superheroes kill. Any chance of prequel comics ever happening of Kingdom Come drawn by Alex? I don't know, drawn by Alex Ross. I know they have done like sequel comics. I heard the sequels were not as good.
Yeah, it's kind of like when you get these like once in a generation type stories like Watchmen or Kingdom Come, just trying to add to it, like how the before Watchmen, which by the way I love, like Zach's reaction when they asked him if he'd do Doomsday Clock.
Yeah, probably not. So again, we have all the superheroes. So Norman McKay is then visited by the Spectre. And I love the image of the Spectre coming through the stained glass window of Jesus because he is God's like wrath.
Mm-hmm.
And he basically says, Norman McKay, you have to help me avert an apocalypse. Like a crisis is approaching.
He's asking you to help him cancel the apocalypse.
Yeah, exactly. So he takes him to visit. By the way, so here's the other thing that's very, very significant. This came out after the death of Superman, but before he was brought back to life. So as far as this is definitely an Elseworlds of like, oh yeah, Superman never actually died. He just retired. And he's on Smallville. And he also has a ponytail, which Superman with a ponytail actually looks interesting there.
It's the style of the time.
I've always felt Superman looks great with facial hair. That's just me.
Yeah.
And by the way, he's lifting a green tractor. Action Comics #1 reference.
Yeah, that's very deliberate. It is very deliberate.
And then I love where Norman McKay goes, he's so alone, and then Wonder Woman, not always.
Oh, how does it feel to know that Alex Ross is a Super Wonder?
It feels extreme. All the talented people are Super Wonder shippers. Have you noticed that? So, and here's the other thing. So the argument against Clark being with Diana is that she takes him away from humanity. She only calls him Cal. But you notice what's the first thing she says? Hello, Clark.
And then he gives her a look, and then she calls him Cal.
Yeah, and so what we discover is that something happened in the past that caused Superman to step back and retire. He's like, I cannot do this anymore. And then the thing about Superman is that the other Leaguers take their cues from him, so everyone else went into retirement.
Yeah, and then it's revealed that it's a simulation.
In the Fortress of Solitude, so it's like in the Matrix.
See, I mean, I just want to say they do actually kind of very clearly say it's the death of Lois. And I got to say, this is probably the main argument against Lois, is Clark will almost always have a longer life than most normal humans.
Yeah.
He will outlive Lois. That is guaranteed. Okay.
Yeah.
Why not be with someone who's also immortal?
Yeah, the thing about it when you think about it is Superman with Wonder Woman is it's not like an if, it's a when. Because yeah, eventually Lois and Steve are gonna die of old age. Diana's practically immortal. So is Clark, as long as that sun remains yellow. So there's no chance of so eventually, like this way, it's for sure that Clark and Diana will outlive Lois and Steve.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I like how Superman stands in the middle of the fortress and he sees like he essentially sees like an image of like all the superheroes fighting, and then he focuses on one, Magog.
Which I think is his son.
No, it's not Superman's son. No.
Oh.
Not Superman's son. Superman's son comes in the sequel, and his name is
Oh.
Hyperman. So Magog is a different superhero. Now, what we discover is that in Smallville, there was another superhero battle, and they pierced Captain Atom. And when you pierce Captain Atom, he explodes like a nuclear bomb.
All right. There's some context. They're fighting Parasite, who very much does not want this fight. Like, he wants to surrender.
Okay,
He's
yeah,
like,
Parasite.
please. Parasite. Like, they find one villain. It's obviously he's an older Parasite. He very much does not want this. See, this is where, like, I'm going to point out certain story beats that went on to inspire other things. Like, this very clearly inspired Civil War and the Stanford incident right here.
Yeah, I'm convinced that Millar was inspired by Kingdom Come when he wrote Civil War, because a lot of the story beats carry over. So, moving on, there's like nuclear fallout and all that. Moving on, yeah, exactly. And so again, it's like Diana is basically like, you have to stop punishing humanity. They realize they made a mistake. Now you wonder, they kind of do a little bit of like a mystery in that what could humanity have done that made Clark step away?
Yeah.
And but I like this image of Diana lit by the northern lights.
Also, I love the fact that even all this on, she still enjoys flying.
I gotta say again, this is what you get with painting. Look at the ultra realistic lighting.
Yeah, I mean, it helps that Alex Ross is known for using real life references. Like, these are actual people, by the way. Like, the people he actually modeled these characters off of real life people. In fact, there's pictures
what he
online.
does, as opposed to Greg Land, what Alex Ross does is he actually takes the photos themselves of himself of people, and then does his drawing off the photo, as opposed to just swiping stuff. Yes, I use that term.
Yes. We've done Comixwatch episodes about that. It's actually one of our better episodes.
So then we meet the other Justice Leaguers, like the Flash, who is constantly moving. That's why he kind of looks like out of sync.
Also, I love that they're giving him the original Flash design. They give him like the helmet.
Because I think a lot of these characters are the JSA characters. Like, okay, so we have Hawkman. I also like how Hawkman is a literal Hawkman.
Yeah.
And then Alan Scott, Green Lantern, creates like essentially a watchtower in space.
He creates his own Emerald City.
Yeah, and he's basically waiting for a threat that may never come. He's essentially the watchful guardian. And then we also get a vision of like Atlantis, Themyscira, maybe even one of the future with the Legion. And you also see multiple people that look like super characters in the Legion. That's a specific thing. That was also in a sequel to Kingdom Come. I'll explain that later.
Yeah. Because in a lot of stories, Supergirl ends up leaving the
Not
timeline.
just Supergirl. That's not Supergirl. That's the kids of Superman and Wonder Woman.
Ooh.
They did this like short story in one of the sequels to Kingdom Come, where it shows like the timeline, and it's like it shows Clark's alive during the Legion time. He looks up and he sees his kids flying with the Legion.
Oh wow.
So here, then we see Gotham, and Gotham is actually pretty safe because Batman made bat drones.
Yeah, I guess you could say it's quite the. I guess you could say it's quite the Iron Legion.
Yeah, exactly. And then
it's almost like Marvel gets all of its ideas from DC.
All the good ideas, I know, right? So yeah, Batman has his city completely under control, and then we see again there's a battle on a bridge, and they're not really like, again, it's a battle without caring about civilians. And then Norma Kay goes, "We need hope." And then all of a sudden, you see a blur come by. Another blur, and then someone goes, look up in the sky. And then Superman's just standing there like a badass.
Can you imagine? Like, Superman has been gone for 10 years, the world, and all of a sudden Superman appears. Like, that is like a lightning across the bow.
Now, here's the thing, and again, this is why you can't. This is why James Gunn can't haphazardly take the Kingdom Come logo, because it's a very specific context for that logo.
Yeah.
You can't just throw that in there. But anyway, but
he wants to put his stamp on it.
So he's taking other people's stuff and putting the stamp. Hey, what's up, Tavia?
Hey, buddy.
Next issue. All right, so we are on the next issue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this stands as like one of my favorite DC storylines of all time, but for the art alone, but a lot of it because of the story. So then we see, so like this guy named Americommando is like trying to stop immigrants from coming into the country. And then what you see is Norma Kay goes, someone should do something. And then
Also,
the actual League shows up looking like Greek gods come back to Earth.
Also, can I just say, American Commando, he looks like quite the Homelander.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Garth Ennis took that from there, because he even has an American flag cape.
Like he has the shoulder pads of Homelander. It looks very like even like the pauldron thing, like the back thing. It looks very similar to Homelander. I'm just gonna say.
Yeah. So, and this is my favorite image of the book because it looks like the gods come back down to Earth and they're returning to restore order. You notice how Supergirl has become Power Girl.
Yeah.
And I like Alan Scott having like a giant ass green sword. It's like he's a knight essentially.
Yeah.
And then the League just beat the crap out of these heroes. I like Superman. He just pulls the armor off Americommando. He's like, you're done.
Let me show you how it's done, Sonny.
Which again, if Superman ever fought Homelander, this is about as well as that would go for Homelander.
Yeah, Brown.
Having a small Superman logo just looks kind of stupid. And that was my critique of the return suit, because everything else looks good on the return suit, except for like the really small S made up of large S's. And then you also have Red Robin.
Okay. This is where I gotta jump in. Do they ever explain in the actual continuity why Red Robin is using the Kingdom Come suit in the main continuity? Why Tim is using it?
I don't remember. I have to read more on that.
Because remember after Batman Death in the I'm trying to think here. Batman Battle for the Cowl, the Red Robin series, the one that I won't shut the heck up about. Tim is using the Red Robin suit, and it's literally this suit.
Yeah, exactly. And yes, so the League fights. And I think in this universe, most of the League is made up of the Golden Age heroes. So it could be Hal just never became a Green Lantern.
Yeah, but I think it's full of the first and second generation heroes. Because remember, Dick Grayson is in here as well, and the other of them are third generation, and it kind of goes to like the old adage of the first generation makes a fortune, the second generation grows it, the third generation spends it.
Okay, yeah, exactly. So then, so the League shows up at the old Hall of Justice and basically proclaims that, look, we went away, we made a mistake, we're back, we're going to restore order. Any hero that wants to join us may join us. Anyone that does not, stand aside or we will put you aside.
Oh,
I love badass Superman. And so Superman shows up to meet Bruce Wayne, and then we see Batman is like in this like harness thing that you can see with, because I think that's like what actually happened with Nightfall.
Yeah. By the way, they did reference this in Crisis. They put Kevin Conroy in the Kingdom Come suit.
but he killed Superman. And I'm like, you had him in the Kingdom Come suit, then you also had Routh in the Kingdom Come suit.
I'm not saying it was perfect, but just seeing Kevin Conroy
No,
play
it was
Bruce.
good in that sense, but I'm like, you should have just made it so Kingdom Come actually happens. That's what you should have done.
All right, we got a question for you.
Jared, a question about the S logo. Is it necessary to have the logo different from the suit? Can it be not part of the fabric of the suit so that it's big and fits better? Yeah, I'm fine with that. You mean if it's a separate piece from the bodysuit? Yeah, exactly.
Actually, Tevye raises an interesting point. He says, basically, if you think about it, the story did Injustice first, but did it better.
Except Superman does not become evil, neither does Wonder Woman.
That's a part of doing it better.
Yeah, because here's the thing about Injustice. It's built on such shaky ground. And by the way, Nick, maybe at one point we can do an episode of Comixwatch on that. When you get into the minutia of Injustice, it's built on such shaky foundation that if you question one detail, the entire story crumbles.
Yeah, because honestly, I think the Kingdom Come, like his reaction, like let's say it's like Superman has one bad day. I think the Kingdom Come reaction is a lot more realistic than Injustice. Like Superman be like, okay, I'm done with the world. I'm going to isolate myself. That is more of a Superman reaction than, all right, I'm king of the world now.
Well, even on that, by the way, they reference this in Batman versus Superman when remember when like the bombing of the Capitol happens and Superman isolates himself. Or when you think about it, this is kind of the story of DC Universe Online, because if you read the tie-in comics, after Lois is killed, yes, Lois dies in the DC Online comics. So awesome. Superman isolates himself, and that's why Superman was like floating in space during that like blur cutscene. That's what that was. So anyway, so Batman essentially is concerned with Superman saying you're gonna turn into dictators, and then Clark's like, that's not what we're doing here, Bruce. I promise you on that, but Bruce is basically like, it always starts off like that with the best of intentions, but then it devolves into that, which both are right.
Yeah. And this is what I like is, I didn't say it when you, like, during the announcement, it almost could be construed as a villain speech.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
so then,
and that's the thing, like, this is why, like, the Superman and Batman are like one of the most iconic duos in like fictional history, because they play off so well against each other. Dark, light, like truth and justice. Like it's a perfect like Reese's combination of characters that they play. It's a perfect combo.
That's why they're great as like the world's finest. That's why those comics do well. By the way, Tevye, the DC Online comics were written by Marv Wolfman.
No wonder they're so good.
Yeah, definitely not Tom Taylor. So then it works with a lot of Tom Taylor stories. That a lot of them are very contrived. So essentially, and then Superman also asks Batman, "You have bat drones basically turning Gotham into a police state. You should talk, bro."
I love it. Like point, counterpoint. They're both pointing it out. See, this is what good writing looks like. Thank you, Alex Ross.
Yeah, exactly. So then Superman leaves, but then we see like Dinah Lance, Oliver Queen, and so Batman again. He has his own team, and then they and by the way, Brown, the answer to that question is Henry Cavill. So then, we find out more about like Wonder Woman, and essentially more of the heroes come out of retirement because of the Justice League. You see like Starman, you see Starfire. It's your girl. You see Donna Troy. In other words, the Teen Titans and the rest of the JSA. So in other words,
by the way, in this continuity, the ship name is Redfire.
Okay, is that Dick Grayson though?
It is. Yeah, Kingdom Come, Red Robin is Dick Grayson, and that is confirmed.
Yeah. So what I like about this is that, again, it's like the superhero community takes their cues from Superman. He retires, they retire. He comes out of retirement, they come out of retirement.
Yeah, and it's like I said, you notice it's the first and second generation heroes that are on Superman's side.
Yeah, exactly. So they go to work, and again, I also love the image of the kid pointing up in wonder as all the superheroes fly above him, and I'm like, I love that. That is just see. Here's what I love about Alex Ross. His stuff looks like the art you'd see at like a Greek temple of the gods.
What I always love about Alex Ross is he gives me Norman Rockwell vibes, and I
Yeah.
love Norman Rockwell.
He's been called the Norman Rockwell of comics, and I'm like, yep, I see it, 110%, bro.
Yeah, because if you actually look at Norman Rockwell paintings, like you can tell they're very similar. Like, and this is not to like talk down about Alex Ross. That is a compliment.
Yeah, because Norman Rockwell is Americana. It's like it's like the highest compliment, as a matter of fact. The other thing I like about Alex Ross, you notice how all of the superhero costumes like simple. Superman's wearing more of a cloth-ish suit, so he can make any suit look good. So then we see Wonder Woman's getting a little brutal. And there's an explanation for that later, which I really like. And obviously Superman saving civilians. Then we cut to like essentially the Legion of Doom with like Vandal Savage and Lex Luthor. And they're talking about how the superheroes coming out of retirement, and that's a little concerning. We have Selena Kyle. We have the son of Batman, Ivan Zufrash or whatever. But by the way, that would be this is pre-Damian, essentially.
Is he Talia's son?
I don't remember if he's Talia's son. I can actually find out right here.
If he's Talia's son, then he's definitely a prototype Damian. He's essentially Damian.
In the back of the trade they have like background information on all the characters. So,
funny thing you should say that, Tevya, because Alex Ross recently he actually did a full Spider-Man comic.
He did a full Marvel comic called The Marvels, which was actually before this, and it was basically different events in the Marvel universe, but from the perspective of a photojournalist.
Interesting.
It's
He's
really
actually
good.
done. He's actually done like Spider-Man paintings, and they're very much like the Steve Ditko Spider-Man done through Alex Ross, and dare I say they're beautiful.
Yes, exactly. So I'm just trying to find what's the name of the kid. It should be here. Actually, no, I'll do it later. But anyway, so and I also like how like Selena Kyle is the more golden age Selena Kyle. Again, this is a very much a tribute to the golden age of comics. And then Brown brings up a good point. We also get Billy Batson, who when he grows up, looks.
Yeah, there we go.
He's here. He looks like Shazam.
Yeah, I like that they did that. Where it's like you have like there is no doubt. Yeah, we know who he is.
Yeah, exactly. So then we go to essentially a bar where all the really crazy superheroes and supervillains hang out, and then Superman just shows up and goes, "Okay, party's over. Here's the way this is gonna work. You're gonna join the Justice League and abide by our rules, or you're going in a Supermax." That's it.
Do you see the Civil War parallels here?
Yeah, I know. He goes, "You can join the Justice League willingly, or we're gonna put you in a prison." Ironically, a prison.
DC once again was a blueprint for. I'm sorry, I am seeing so many parallels to the Civil War story here. Which, by the way, this is 10 years prior. So this is yeah.
And then here we get the classic image of the Justice League standing over the Green Lantern table. That is just so cool. That's again, every image of Alex Ross is like, you could take literally any panel, hang it on my wall. And then we get the battle continues, and the superheroes are slowly gaining ground and locking up a bunch of people in the prisons. Now, but the prisons are running out of space. So they need a place to put them. So they go to Aquaman. And this is where we learn something very interesting. So first off, Aquaman says no. But we also learn that Wonder Woman has been stripped of her Amazonian title and barred from Themyscira.
Ooh.
Because what you discover is that because the world ended up so violent, the Amazons felt that she failed in her mission of peace to man's world. Because remember, she was supposed to go out into man's world to like spread peace and like prosperity into the world, and she failed. That's why she's also a little more violent. So then they find Magog, and Superman fights him. And here's the thing: Magog was trying to rebuild what he had destroyed because it was because of his actions that Captain Atom like went nuclear and blew up. So he feels very responsible. And it turns out Magog knows that he caused the world to like collapse. So he actually wanted, it's implied that he wanted the superheroes to come fight him and beat him so they could say, hey, look, I was wrong. The heroes beat me. Please go back to normal. Then we learn what happened. So what you learn is, so the Joker showed up at the Daily Planet and gassed it, killing Perry, killing Jimmy.
I'm Justice!
And killing Lois. Superman did not go crazy. Sorry. But what caused Superman to go into retirement is Magog shows up, murders the Joker. Well, kills the Joker. And it turns out before he could stand trial, and Superman is like, no, he should stand. Magog was arrested. And then Superman goes, no, he murdered the Joker. And then the audience acquits Magog of all crimes. And apparently, according to Metropolis, Magog was right. So Superman goes, okay, you're okay with killing? I want no part of this. And he leaves.
And again, this was made in response to the rise of the Image heroes.
That just well, and not only that, it's like even in DC and Marvel, there was like a lot of like hyper violent comics going around.
And this is the Injustice story. This is literally like, and I would almost go as far as say Injustice ripped this story off from Kingdom Come.
Oh yeah, 100%. Injustice took the story of this and bastardized it in order to make a fighting game. That's it. That's really it.
Because here's the thing. This is how Superman would act, okay? Yeah, like this is totally in line with how Superman would act. Like any version of Superman would be like this. And and that's the problem with Injustice is they have to act so far out of character. Like I can see a heat of the moment Superman maybe killing the Joker, like if he's pushed far enough, but then he would regret it.
Yeah. And then, by the way, Magog says, you know why it's actually your fault the world ended up like this, because you just left. All of you just left.
Oh my God.
Yeah, all of you just left and let the world collapse. It's your fault.
Okay. This is the most political as I'm going to get. This just screams of millennials blaming boomers for how the world is. I'm sorry. I gotta say it. And that's
kind of. So, and essentially, Magog and Superman fight, and then Magog actually gives up and says, "I'm done." And then at that point, Superman just goes, "Now we're in a war." So they go to Apocalypse because they're thinking if they need a prison. So who can build a prison that can hold all these people? But then we find out that at some point, Darkseid was overthrown and Orion took over as Lord of Apocalypse, and he looks like Darkseid still.
Oh.
He's even doing the hands behind the back pose.
The father has become the son, and the son has become the father.
And then essentially what happens is that they build a prison. And it's a prison that, like, it's implied that the way the prison works is that there's infinite space inside of it, so they can fit as many prisoners as they have to.
So you say they're building the prison in a negative zone?
Could be. And
no, do you get what I'm referencing?
Yeah, I know. And exactly. And the way the deal is, you're in this prison until you agree to either join the Justice League or just retire. That's it. You're done. We're not doing this anymore.
This is another one of those, like, Civil War literally just ripped this off. Because remember, there's a point where they have a prison in another dimension for all the heroes. Like, this is so blatant.
Yeah, and then Batman shows up and starts making, because Batman is concerned with the way the superheroes are just locking people up, so he's forced to make a deal with Luthor.
Oh.
Then we get to Kingdom Come issue 3, and I like how each of these is like one big connected poster.
So good.
Then we get another image of Shazam from Norman McKay's vision. It's showing that the prison is the Legion of Doom headquarters. It looks like Darth Vader's head.
Meanwhile, the Legion of Doom.
And inside, they can fight, they can fly around. And it's basically like, no, it's really that simple. All you got to do is agree not to be like evil and to accept like restrictions, and you're good to go. Oh God. Superman would just say, Frank, have at it. So then we see like the Quintessence, which is a group of Highfather, a Guardian, Zeus. They're all having a conversation about how the world is going to Armageddon, and we'll get there in a second.
Also, I love how Highfather is using the shepherd's cane. That's a very evocative image.
Yeah. Then we see Dead Man, who's a skeleton instead of just like a ghostly dude. I like that image. And it turns out Dead Man can see Norman McKay, because what it's established is that McKay and the Spectre are like invisible. They're just observers to the DC universe.
Okay.
So then we see Superman and Wonder Woman talking about, are we going a little too far, because like we're locking people up at this point, and then essentially,
okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Wait, I'm trying to get this. DC's Illuminati, yeah.
I would argue DC's Illuminati is more of the Trinity, and there's a reason for that.
And then he says, and then Black Reaper's like, I lurk. That is okay, Black Reaper. Lurk to your heart's content.
Yeah, exactly. So then we see like basically images of what happened to Shazam. And just as Shazam is being like mind controlled by Lex Luthor, he puts like this mind control worm in his ear, kind of like that one like worm that Shazam always fights, and it controls him essentially. That's how like Batson is under Lex Luthor's thrall, and Batman knows this. That's why he has like a bat drone there. It turns out that like obviously Batman has contingency plans, if you will.
I mean, come on. You didn't think you'd go in the situation with that. At least at least 3 or 4 different contingency plans. Like, he had an ace up his sleeve.
Because of Batman.
Because he's Batman.
Yeah, exactly. And then so essentially he's talking to Lex about like what would about how dangerous superheroes are becoming. We also see Jean Jones. And we see like a lot of the different superheroes, like Black Canary 2, who is the daughter of Black Canary, and Oliver Queen. And then we cut to the...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. He was human. So then we found out the world is secure. Now, here's the interesting thing. Because the Flash is always vibrating, he can see Norman McKay, and they pull him out into the reality, and then Power Girl's like, why are you here? And then Superman's like, well, answer her question. And then he's like, he's basically like, I'm here to stop you from destroying the world. And then right at that moment, Grayson is like, there's a riot at the prison, ironically called the Gulag.
All right, Red Robin, avoid any pipes and rocks.
Oh, yeah, and watch your footing.
Yes, please. I know you're an acrobat, but please watch your footing. Like, that's the worst part. He's an acrobat. He is a gymnast. If anyone had good footing, it's Dick Grayson.
But that's why what they had to do is have it so he's knocked out by Damian throwing that baton. That's what they had to do.
But he's always catches it.
We'll
it's
answer
such a contrived
questions later, Tevia. We've already said that.
Yeah, questions at the end of this. What's yours said?
So Superman is like, we have to resolve this peacefully. And Wonder Woman is like, okay, at this point, we're beyond peace, because they've shown they're not going to stop Cal. We need to do this to essentially like the word, to like the only way to be 100% sure they're not going to be a threat, even if there's a 1% chance that they could be your enemy.
I knew it. I knew you're going to go
certainty.
there. Like, I could just see the gear turning your head as you were saying
I was
it.
like,
You realized...
I was like, oh yeah, I could do this. And then we see more about Shazam, my eye controlling, and then Batman springs into action, and then Shazam goes Shazam, and then takes off for the prison.
I could see that. And that's the thing I like about this is it actually has nuance. Like, there's no contrivance to be like, oh, everyone has a point. No, everyone does have a point here.
Yeah, exactly. So then we get so Shazam rockets for the prison. Then we see Wonder Woman putting on her golden armor, which I have the actual Kingdom Come action figure for, that made by DC Collectibles.
Let's hope it can stand up to Cheetah.
Oh yeah, this one can. This one's cool, as opposed to what a wasted opportunity. And Wonder Woman takes out a sword, and she's like, "No, at this point, we're gonna have to take a life, Cal." And then I love that she kisses Superman, and then the way it's described is her lips brush against his, the sound of marble scraping steel. It's a kiss completely devoid of passion. It's a final farewell.
Oh God, that is evocative.
And then we get to Superman rockets out and goes to Batman and said, dude, you need to help me out here because the gulag is going to blow and I need your help here.
I kind of want to like address this real quick. DC needs to get away from this dark vibe they have put. Superman's dirty looking costume, Affleck's Batman, the Flash acting like a clown, etc., etc.
Disagree, because that's what makes DC different than Marvel. DC is the darker publisher. They can go too dark sometimes, but no, DC is the darker publisher than Marvel. This whole, particularly post-Crisis, so this whole narrative that DC used to be puppies and rainbows is just wrong.
See, here's my take. I do think that DC needs to be more hopeful, but the problem is every time they do that, it's an overcorrection. Like James Gunn is doing an overcorrection, okay? This to me is a good middle ground. It's dark, but it's hopeful. The DCAU was a perfect middle ground. Like that's why people love the DCAU. It's because it's a perfect middle ground between the darkness and the light. You know, it's not grim dark, but it's not puppies and rainbows either. And I think when people want, like when they ask for their DC, I think I feel like it's that middle ground.
Yeah, exactly. And you can have both. And by DC doesn't need to be different from Marvel. Yeah, it does. Because they're not Marvel. They're DC. That is why. Because why not? If you want them to be like Marvel, go read Marvel.
Yeah. Like there does need to be a difference. And there is a difference in how they present it. Like DC is Gods Among Us.
Yeah.
And Marvel is more the everyman. If you want everyman superheroes, go read Marvel. We're not, I like Marvel. I like Spider-Man. I like X-Men. I like Daredevil. But I'm a DC fan.
That's the way it objectively works. That's DC's own thing, is the gods amongst men. Because if they're gonna act like Marvel, he reads mostly Marvel comics. DC, I remember Justice Super Friends, some Batman's in the early days. Okay, that explains it. And CCC, yeah, we're that explains. If you read more DC, and I invite you to, because there's some great comics in there. If you read more, yeah, go ahead.
After we finish this, Jared, let's give some like recommendations for people who haven't read DC. If they want a primer of what stories to read to understand what DC is, we'll do that after we finish this. I think that's good.
But the point is, if you read more, do you consider Christopher Reeve the best Superman movie? They were not dark. I don't. Nick, let me put it this way. Nick and I have disagreements, but it's not like the first. I don't think that they were the best Superman movie. Actually, you know what? They were the best for their time.
Yeah, for me it comes down to preference. Yes, Christopher Reeve is my preference, but Jared is Henry Cavill. I like Henry Cavill. I do enjoy those movies. I think he's a great Superman. But I prefer Reeve. I prefer like all the stuff with that.
Yeah.
But it does come down to preference. Like what your Superman is and what my Superman is are vastly different, and that's okay.
Yeah. That's the beauty of comic books. You can have different versions. But anyway, so essentially the gulag is gonna blow. And so Wonder Woman shows up at the gulag and goes, okay, stop being violent or we'll kill you.
Oh God. Stop the gun violence or we'll shoot you.
Yeah, exactly. So Superman rockets to the gulag, and then Shazam shows up and breaks the prison open. And then we get this image of Shazam facing down Superman.
That's fair. That is fair.
Yeah. So then we get the climactic battle.
So this is the last issue.
This is the last issue. That is correct.
All right, so we're going to do this last issue, and then we're going to open up the floor to questions, comments, and then we'll kind of talk about general comic stuff. So it basically any comic question is on the table. It just has to be comics. This is Comixwatch.
Yeah. And then so we, by the way, this is the Kingdom Come image that I think of when I think of this book. When Lad and I covered this book in a long time ago, like in the early days of Under Two Capes, this is the image I use for the thumbnail.
And this is what I love about these pictures. Like, there's so much chaos going on, but you can make out so much little detail. There's all these little stories going on. Like, you can spend hours just looking at this one image and seeing all the details. I love it.
And this is an image that you can hear.
Oh, yes.
So, essentially, so here's the thing. And then this is one of the cataclysmic visions of the future. The vision was the superheroes are going to fight across the globe and then end up destroying the world.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so Superman and Shazam fight, and then the government
sees Blue Beetle.
Yeah, the government fights, and then the government starts up and is like, okay, the superheroes are all there and they're causing all these issues. Let's nuke them.
Avengers. I see the government has made a plan. Given that it's a stupid decision, I've elected to ignore it.
The government always decides to nuke.
He mentioned your favorite writer.
No, John Byrne also wrote Superman making out with a 14-year-old girl. And he was very xenophobic towards Superman's Kryptonian heritage. So I don't consider that a good Avengers of Superman. Yes, he did. Yep. Mm-hmm. Absolutely fantastic. And then Batman, I love Batman with the mechanical wings.
Oh, so you see he's on mechanical wings?
Yeah, and there's Blue Beetle. Yeah, exactly. So all the superheroes show up, and I like how Batman has this grill that comes down like there to protect his mouth, because that is just a badass image. John Byrne is amazing. Okay, 2 weeks.
You're allowed to think that. Yeah, you're allowed to think that. That's
well, you know why? Because he's known for writing a lot of Marvel stuff, and he basically Marvelized Superman. That's why.
All right.
Which is fine. You're allowed to have your preference, bro.
All right, before we go any further, our opinions are our own. If you think differently, that's okay.
Yeah, just be civil about it. So, Wonder Woman kills this random superhero, and then she goes, "He left me no choice. I had to." And then you go, "She killed Von Bach. Get her!" And then everyone tries to, like, swarm Wonder Woman, and then Wonder Woman carries Bruce into like the atmosphere and goes, "Okay, so how dare you moralize to me, Bruce?" And then they look and the side and see the nuclear bombers approaching, and then they're like, "Oh no!" They know what's happening.
Yeah.
So,
also, they're very bat shaped, by the way.
Yes, they are. I wouldn't be surprised if they were created by Wayne Tech or something like that.
Which would be quite the case of poetic irony. He has created his own destruction.
Yeah, exactly. So what Shazam does, so Superman is weak to magic. So what Shazam does is so whenever he says Shazam, lightning bolt comes down and like strikes him, and that's how he turns into Shazam. So he parks himself under Superman, just calls Shazam a bunch of times, and the lightning bolt just keeps bombarding Superman.
Now that is a creative use of game mechanics.
Yeah, exactly. That's one of those occasions where you're playing like Mortal Kombat and you're like, is that the stop spamming that one move?
Oh god, I remember like playing the 16-bit era games. I just spam uppercut and I got all the way to the final boss one time doing that.
I do that. So Wonder Woman and Batman fight the nukes. And
CC will answer that question here in a minute. We will get to your question. We just want to finish this up first, but that is a good question. We'll be happy to answer it.
yeah. And so they fight the like nuclear jets, but one gets through and drops the nuke. Superman sees this, and then I like what he does. So he calls Shazam, but this time Superman gets under Shazam, so the lightning bolt hits Billy and reverts him back to his human form, and then he holds his mouth and says, "Hey, listen, Billy, I know this isn't you. A nuke is about to hit. Look, you need to lead them because I'm going to go stop that nuke. I'm probably going to die. So just make a choice on what type of man you're going to be." So, but it turns out the other thing is that the nuke is like resistant to like heat vision. The other thing is
contingency plans.
This was the other vision of the future where nuclear fire would rain on the earth and destroy it.
Mm-hmm.
So Superman flies up and he's like, "Hey, listen, I'm gonna stop this, but you have to listen. You have to listen to me. Look around you. There's a bomb coming to destroy us, or we rampage around the globe. This has to stop. I'm not." So he flies up to go stop the nuke, but at the same time, Shazam calls Shazam, flies up, knocks Superman down, and then Shazam's the nuke, and it explodes.
Oh.
And then we see all the dead superheroes. And then Superman gets really pissed off and flies to. I like where the Spectre goes, "Okay, I'm no longer needed. See ya." And then
the gods are dicks.
And Norm McKay is like, "What do you mean, see ya? He's gonna go take out the UN. Bring me to the UN." So McKay goes, "Let me talk to them." So at the UN, Superman's about to bring the house down. And then, so McKay goes, Clark, don't. You blame yourself for Marvel, for everything that happened. But here's the thing. If you do this, they will never forgive you. You need to forgive yourself for what happened.
This is what Injustice doesn't understand.
Yeah, because also Superman does like blame himself for what happened because essentially because he blames himself because he walked away.
Yeah, and so CC says, "Kingdom Come was one of the few miniseries I could not put down. It should be a required reading for any comic book fan, along with Marvel's Triumph and Torment." Yeah.
Yep. Kingdom Come is definitely required reading for DC. Because if you want to know a book that gets Superman, the general concept of who Superman is, it's Kingdom Come.
It's like there's a reason why it's in both of our libraries.
There's a reason why I would guarantee it's in every comic book. Every comic book fan somehow has Kingdom Come in their library in some degree.
Yeah.
And then we discover that the other reason why Superman was going to go destroy the UN is because he thought he was alone. He thought they'd kill all the superheroes. And then you discover that, like, Shazam detonated the nuke above ground. So obviously it mitigated the casualties. And Green Lantern...
Exactly.
And Green Lantern and some magic heroes created force fields. And basically, there was a lot more survivors.
Mm-hmm.
And in other words, so you could say the thought of losing Wonder Woman was almost too much for Superman. I love this book.
Yes, you do, sir. Yes, you do.
So what Superman says is, the UN. So he basically talks to the UN and he goes, "Look, now we're gonna put things right. Years ago, I let those I swore to protect drive me away. We all did. And that was the day all of this began." And then the UN says, we saw you as gods. And then Superman says, "As we saw ourselves, and we were both wrong. But I no longer care about the mistakes of yesterday. I care about coping with tomorrow together." So he essentially says, look, the problems are still going to exist. The problems are still going to exist, but we're gonna face them together. We're gonna face them with you. So I like what he does is, you know, the like string of flags at the UN that represent each country. So
Yeah.
he takes Captain Marvel's flag and hangs it cape, hangs it there as a flag to say superheroes are now part of this.
I love it. Yeah, Tevye, for sure.
And then so we get like so where are they now? So Batman, so Bruce retired from being Batman and he turned Wayne Manor into a hospital for like superheroes. Lex Luthor works for him, and I like how Batman screws with Lex. He walks by and goes, Shazam! So then we see there's Grayson with his daughter. Wonder Woman.
I gotta say, she looks quite Tamaradian.
I thought she looked like an oracle. That was just me.
No. Red Fire is canon to this universe. Red Fire is canon.
Then Wonder Woman is welcomed back to the Amazons because she helped bring peace. Green Lantern joins the UN. And then we see in Smallville, Kansas, where the nuking happened, Superman has made a like gravesite for all the heroes that lost. And I love this image. Wonder Woman shows up and goes, hey, listen, Clark, I brought these for you. And he goes, what is it? She goes, a gift to help you see things clearly. It's his Clark Kent glasses.
I love it.
So it's essentially, and then they kiss. And I'm like, yes!
And this one's filled with passion.
Yes, it is. And then
I gotta say, this is quite the super wonderful ending.
Yes, it is. And then now Norman McKay has his faith restored. And then 1 year later, back at Planet Krypton, I love this. They're greeted by a Superman server, and then Diana just goes, "Be nice, Clark." He's like, and by the way, in the background, you can see like the original Shazam comic, or the Wiz comics. You could see like the Young Love comics by the Batgirl server. There's the DC logo. I think there's even the Diamond Distribution logo.
Also that Batgirl server is definitely the 60s version.
And then there's Mark Waid.
So he has nothing to do with this book. Why is he making a cameo?
They do a lot of that. So I like Superman eyeing the fake kryptonite display. He's like, and then Batman shows up. By the way, so what's kind of cool about this, if you look at the menu, they're recreating art from like the original comics. Like that's the image of Hal Jordan's first appearance. He's shooting a yellow rocket.
Yeah. Also, I love the joke. It's like, can I have a steak? Oh, you mean the man of beef? Just give me the steak.
And yeah, I love where, and then like Batman has a Green Lantern mug. You know what? I wish that this restaurant existed, because then I'd do a vlog.
Oh God, yes, all of us. That would be like, it would be like that's where Comics League would meet up.
That's the Comics League meetup, yeah. So what I like about this is that I like how so they go, Bruce, we have news, and then Clark just goes, you're pregnant.
I mean, yeah, he's the world's greatest detective.
And they go, how did you know? He goes, observation. For an ageless Amazon of perfect physique, you put on a pound or two. That was my first clue. And also your hair is shiny. I love this. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm pretty sure he modeled Wonder Woman off of Betty Page.
Probably. And I love this. Wonder Woman goes, and we'd like you to be the Godfather. And then Superman goes, what?
They made him an offer he couldn't refuse.
And then Bruce goes to Clark. He goes, news to you, I take it. And then Clark goes, when it comes to her, what isn't?
All right. Yeah, and that's the book?
No, it's not done yet.
Oh, okay.
So it's essentially like, hey, listen, Bruce, here's why. Because you can teach our kid to be human. And I like how Bruce goes, are you sure you want me? Because my track record with kids isn't exactly spotless. And then Clark goes, hey, listen, here's why. Because despite everything, I've always trusted you.
Yeah.
And then they leave. By the way, I love this image where this So Norman brings the Spectre to this restaurant. He goes, "That's the Spectre platter," and then Norman K goes, "Look, look at it this way. It's flattering to be remembered somehow."
I
And then
love
the
that
book ends.
they end with the Trinity. That is a perfect ending.
Yeah, because ultimately DC is like them. That's who they are.
All
And
right,
that's
so
Kingdom Come.
And I think I speak for both me and Jared. 10 out of 10.
Yeah,
Though
10
for
out of
Jared,
10.
though for Jared, it's probably like a 12 or 15 because it gets
15 out of 10 because it gets the Super Wonder Boost.
Yeah. So all right. So here on out, we know you're asking some questions. We do appreciate those. We're trying to cover the book. So we're going to go back and cover some questions. So we're going to start with CC's. He says, just found out about Christ on Infinite Earths in the Arrowverse today. Watson Cliffs, now I'm dying to watch it. Do you recommend? Yes,
read the book
no.
first.
Read the book first, definitely. Which, by the way, we'll be talking about the book here in a second. It's good, but it kind of requires you to watch a lot of the Arrowverse stuff to kind of really understand it. In isolation, it's not bad, but yeah,
Yeah. You need to do some research into that.
So I wanted to talk like we were talking about the required reading to get to know like DC. Christ on Infinite Earths is definitely going to be on that list. So here's the thing: I'm more of a Batman fan. Jerry's more of a Superman fan. So I'm going to recommend a bunch of Batman books, and Jared's going to handle the Superman stuff because he can speak on that one better.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, for Batman, I recommend Hush
Mm-hmm.
as kind of your primer on Batman. Trying to think here. Probably Nightfall, the Nightfall saga. Jared, I think
Nightfall, yeah, you could probably read that one, those three trades in isolation. Yeah, I would say so.
All right, what Superman ones would you recommend?
Okay, so there are a few things. In terms of origins, you could read Grant Morrison's Action Comics from the New 52. You could read Mark Waid's Birthright. You could.
What about American Alien?
American Alien you could probably do as well. That one's good. Earth One is also good. And in terms of like general Superman, like fun stories, if you want to like understand Superman, honestly, yeah, any of those stories works. But you could also read Superman, Wonder Woman from the New 52 because that encapsulates Superman pretty well. In terms of Wonder Woman,
George Perez.
George Perez, number one. Always start with George Perez because he was the one that defined Wonder Woman. Then you could go to maybe Brian Azzarello, and then don't do Gail Simone because trust me, that's not as good as
Don't do Tom King.
Hell no, don't do Tom King.
So some other stuff I recommend. I recommend the Marv Wolfman, George Perez of Teen Titans. The Jeff Johns run of Teen Titans is also good.
Speaking of Jeff Johns, for Green Lantern, just read the Jeff Johns run. He explains everything you need to know in all the issues.
I also the Court of Owls run for the New 52 of Batman.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Scott Snyder, Greg Capullo run of Batman for a more modern take is really good. I highly recommend the Chuck Dixon, Scott McDaniel run of Nightwing. I mean, I literally built my brand off of that. But here's another question. What other teams would you read to get into DC Comics? Teen Titans, for sure.
Yeah, actually, you know what's interesting, Nick? I always said, so here's the best way to get into comics. Are you ready? Start with a team book, because here's why. I call it the sampler, because here's what I did when I decided I was going to go full into comics. I bought Justice League. Here's why. Because then I figured, okay, so it's a sampling of all of the different characters, like Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman, The Flash, and everything like that. Then I figured, as soon as I honed in on which of these characters I liked the most, then I could go buy their books. In other words, yes, it's still a lot because you have to read their continuity then, but it's a good way of like narrowing it so you're not like reading all the lore for Justice League.
And then CC says, then we're going to get your question, Brown. The DC Superheroes action figures is probably up there. The Hasbro's 80s G.I. Jones. Yeah. Yeah, those the DC Superheroes action figures.
Those are
Like
great.
he said, yeah, and then Brown Destroyer asks, have you guys seen Tom Dillon on Joe Rogan podcast talking about Joker 2 movie and how it was self-sabotaged by the director? Have you guys seen I'm conflicted. I'm conflicted because I really don't feel like a director sets out to make a bad movie. And maybe he intended to make a different movie than the first because of the reaction. I don't know. It's hard to say. I haven't seen Tim Dillon's comments or Tarantino's. I'm sure they're not very, very flattering.
Yeah, definitely for sure. So, what other questions do you guys have, and what other like recommended readings? By the way, actually, what's kind of cool is it's actually a good time to get into DC because DC has been putting out these DC Finest trades that like collect a lot of great stories. Like I got the one that these are all the original like 1930s era Superman comics, like from Action Comics 1 and on. So if you want to see like if you want to get like a good introduction to the characters, pick up a few of these. You will not be disappointed.
And speaking of the Nightwing run, DC actually has been putting out a paperback trade omnibus of the Nightwing run, which I do need to get those. I need to get those so bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Tevye has a question.
All right. How do you want to read it, Jared?
Question. Speaking of DC Comics, I'm wondering if Marvel Comics made an absolute universe similar to DC. That's literally the ultimate universe.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, the absolute universe is actually a copy of the ultimate universe.
Well, yeah, but like Marvel already has that. It's called the Ultimate Universe. They did it twice.
And in fact, we reviewed Ultimate Spider-Man, and I gave it a glowing review. Which I'm just going to say this right now. When Ultimate Spider-Man Volume 2 drops in March, we will be reviewing it on this channel.
And Barry, can I say, so I got Absolute Superman, I got the Jim Lee cover, and I got the regular cover. Yeah, JLA by Grant Morrison is very good as well.
Yeah, add that to the list. I would for a DC primer. Would you recommend Watchmen?
No, because here's why. Watchmen is a response to comics. Expose yourself to comics more, because then you'll understand Watchmen a little more.
Yeah, I agree with that. What about Superman American Alien?
You could. The thing is, like, there's like a lot of different origin stories for Superman because they keep retelling it. There's even like Secret Origin by Jeff Johns and Gary Frank. So you could go with that. It's really just dealer's choice. But that's in the new Ultimate Wolverine. That is the Winter Soldier, but looks like Wolverine. I think that's pretty cool.
I haven't seen it, but just based off of your description, that actually sounds like kind of a cool concept.
And Tevye, that's literally what the Ultimate Universe is for Marvel.
Yeah, New 52 Batman is actually really good. I would recommend checking that out.
And the first 50 issues of Rebirth Batman, in other words, the first 50 issues of the Tom King run are good. It's actually, wait. It's good, but filled in with like some really bizarre choices, but it's Tom King. It's the same question, Tevye.
Yeah. Oh God, yes.
Yeah. Have we covered Dark Knight Returns yet?
No, we haven't. Okay, that's going on the list. We got to review that.
You're a Batman fan. You kind of have to. Me too, Bob. By the way, I just want to be clear on this.
Oh, did you buy it because of our review, or did you just buy it? Either way, you're in for a good book. Read it and loved it. Yeah, it's a good one. But yeah, Dark Knight Returns is definitely something we need to cover. I think Brown Destroyer means Neil Adams Batman.
Yep, that's cool as well. I love Neil Adams Batman.
Well, the thing is, Neil Adams Batman is what defined modern Batman. Like the modern Batman started with that.
Yeah, exactly.
See, and the thing is, CC, Kingdom Come is actually like. By the way, when we're talking about '90s comics, we mean the late 80s to mid 90s comics. Because if you look at the late 90s, early 2000s, it's a whole different industry, really. Kingdom Come is really a response to those like the early 90s comics. Since we didn't comment this during the review, but like the third generation heroes, they actually did kind of look almost like Image characters to a degree.
Yeah, that was kind of the idea, and that's why. And yeah, the Image comics worked on their the 90s worked for their own, not necessarily for like the big two, but obviously in terms of Image is good. Yes, year one is fantastic. As an origin for Batman, yeah, that is flawless.
So Blacker Connect said, I wanted to have a good graphic novel read.
Yep.
Kingdom Come, yeah.
That is an excellent one. That is an excellent choice.
Yeah, all right. I'll handle this one. Speaking of Marvel Comics, I'm just wondering if you guys are going to cover Marvel Zombies, the original, and the sequel comic are the Ultimate Fantastic Four introducing Marvel Zombies. Maybe around next Halloween we'll do it. If you guys ask me enough, I'll do it. Because zombies is definitely like a more Halloween-y topic, and we're kind of past that now.
And
so next year,
that story.
Okay, all right, that might could have put a box on things. Thanks to me reading Deadpool. It's like we should cover Deadpool on the channel at some point.
I have a few Deadpool trades we can try out.
All right, and then Tevi asks, speaking of Kingdom Come, I'm just wondering, are you guys going to cover the? Maybe.
No.
I'm going to put that as okay.
Those aren't as good, trust me. There is one that's like the daughter of Superman and Wonder Woman, but it's not as good as you would think it is.
So yeah, it's a probably not. I'm going to give you a probably not. That's fine, Black Reaper Kai. We're just happy you're here.
I'm glad you showed. Yeah, exactly. I'm glad you showed up.
And then my friends are buying so many copies of Youngblood and Spawn every foil cover. Yeah, yeah, and that's why the industry really had to pivot in the late 90s. Like in the early 90s, it was a very artist-centric industry. In the late 90s, it was a very writers-focused industry, and that kind of carried over into the 2000s. And then in the late 90s, early 2000s, my era of comics.
Yeah, and what you have to understand is that, Image was good for the industry because before, it was only Marvel and DC if you wanted to work in comics. However, no. That's okay. His first run is good, is okay. His Rebirth run is garbage.
Okay. That is your opinion.
That's my opinion on that.
You're allowed to think different, Douglas.
I'm going to tell you that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Honestly, like, I've thought about covering manga, but, like, that's not really our audience. But I'll tell you this. If you guys bug me enough, I will cover a manga. I am beholden to the whims. I'm not really that big of a Transformers fan. That's why I haven't really covered it.
I covered it on my channel briefly. It wasn't popular enough, so I'm not gonna cover it.
Yeah, he meant his older stuff. I've been trying to like convince Jared to let us do like the older TMNT.
But again, indie comics don't do well on YouTube.
But is TMNT really indie?
Yeah, it still is. Anything not Marvel or DC doesn't do as well.
Rebirth is not his thing.
Yeah, that's why. Thank you. Rebirth is not a lot of people's thing.
So, I see we got some newcomers here. And if you made it this far and you like what you're doing, we upload on a regular basis. Please make sure to like this video. And if you want to, subscribe.
I have my own channel as well.
Yes. We'll get to that in the wrap-up here in a little bit. I would not be opposed to covering more of the Powder comics, to be honest. I just got to find out like what way to do it.
And Tevia, we just said we don't necessarily do Dragon Ball.
Yeah. I'm just letting this simmer here for you.
I'm not a John Byrne fan because he tends to make characters sleep with minors or kiss minors. So I'm like, I'm not interested.
Yeah, so Cece, you're allowed to like John Byrne, but I don't think we'll cover anything John Byrne here because this is mine, Jared. So Jared has much of a say as I do. So if he doesn't want to cover anything, we're probably not going to do it. Yeah, we're definitely not doing rom-com manga. I don't.
No, we'll get flagged.
Like I could see us doing like maybe something like Dragon Ball, Bleach, like some of the superhero stuff, maybe, but that's stretching it. And Jared, this one's for you.
Yes, 100%. 100% read George Perez Wonder Woman, because you know why? He loved Wonder Woman.
Okay, I just gotta say this. We need to add that to the list of things we need to review.
I've told you this many times.
And then CC is being a stand-up gentleman right here.
Okay.
It's an olive branch. Take it, Jared. It's an olive branch.
Oh, are you? Is he calling me arrogant or
John Byrne.
someone else arrogant? Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an olive branch. Take the olive branch, Jared.
Based upon his past statements, a little xenophobic.
Okay, Rom Space Knight. Yeah, no, that's a little bit too obscure.
Way too obscure. Way too obscure.
Like, I want to cover Legion, but I think that, like, maybe Superman and Legion of Superheroes we could probably do because Superman's in the title.
As long as you mark it as Superman, yeah, you that's the one where you could get away with that.
Yeah, he says no, John. So yeah, that was an olive branch,
good.
Jared.
Yeah. I was a little confused. That's on me. Yeah,
He's confused, but his spirit's in the right place.
John Byrne has been called out once because he called immigrants ungrateful.
Akira, that would be one we'd have to do in parts because that's like a really big thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm gonna put that as a maybe. But yeah, manga is kind of a hard ask for us because that's kind of a little bit beyond our audience. But if you guys ask us enough, we'll do it. And then Black, I love Batman,
but I don't believe his way evil can be cured. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing: the one villain that he should kill is the Joker. At the very least, kill the Joker.
Yeah. So Tevye, to answer your question, that is definitely on the list. We're definitely gonna the original Ditko run. I could definitely see us doing this because, if there's one thing that this I tend to cover most is Batman and Spider-Man. Those you guys love whatever I do Batman and Spider-Man. So yes, anything like Spider-Man related. Actually, one that I want to do is Spider-Man Blue. It's the one from the early 2000s with Jeff Loeb where they go back to it's the Gwen Stacy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that would be cool.
I like that. That works.
I agree. I love Batman, but yeah, and that's the thing. You don't have to agree with his tactics.
Mm-hmm.
The Dark Knight of the Beast. Have you heard of that, Jared? He goes back to his massive library.
Yeah, thank you. No, I did not. Is that any good?
Yeah, tell us, is that any good? We might have to cover that because just going off the title, it sounds kind of interesting.
Sounds actually really cool. So, yeah, 100% I'll check that out.
Definitely. We should cover original run of Batman at some point. And I got you the title. Batman with a gun? Question mark. God,
Batman
we need to do that, Jared. We need to do that. That would be so great. I have seen the Akira movie, and I do love it. 87, 88. I enjoyed it. Yeah, they were really cooking in the late 80s, early 90s, those Batman stories. Another one that I really want to cover is Gotham by Gaslight.
Yeah, that's a fun one. We did the movie on that.
Yeah, and we even had one of the producers of the movie actually.
The director, as a matter of fact, I believe.
Even better. See, Jared. See, this is how important Jared is. Jared has Hollywood connections.
Yeah, because everyone knows I'm right.
You are the Lord of Comics.
Question: 10 Nights of the Beast. Yeah, I still haven't heard of it, but it sounds actually really cool. I'll check that out.
Onslaught. I could see that. Yeah, I could totally see us covering stuff like Onslaught. DC.
We covered
DC
the Phoenix Saga.
That one I kind of want to redo at some point. I don't think we that was early on. I don't think we gave that the best way. I would actually want to redo that at some point.
We could cover what's the word? We could cover DC versus Marvel.
Oh God,
Or
yeah.
JLA Avengers have the image of Superman with the Captain America shield and Mjolnir.
Yep. At some point, I want to do Teen Titans versus meets the X-Men.
Mm-hmm.
I think Jared's probably. I've never read Identity Crisis.
Oh God. I have the issues, and I was flipping through it. That's an interesting story. Let me put it to you that way.
Oh, at one point we're doing Battle for the Call. We're doing the 3-parter of that one.
Yep, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, that was kind of like my last hurrah. Like that was towards the end of my run of being a comic book reader. Definitely the Red Robin run. I talk about it so much. We've got to cover that at some point. And it's fine. It's fine, CC. I'm kind of yelling here in a bit too. I actually wouldn't mind covering Spawn at some point.
Spawn, you could maybe make work because Spawn actually does fairly decent, I would say.
Oh, I've met James O'Barr. He does
Mhm.
conventions, the same conventions that I go to. He's a really nice guy.
Mhm.
Can you imagine James O'Barr doing a Batman story?
Oh, hell yeah.
That would have been so good. Oh my God.
Yeah. Or James O'Barr doing a Punisher story because that's kind of what The Crow is.
And also, I want to do the Crow, but Jared keeps vetoing it. So
I veto it because, again, see, here's what people have to understand about doing comics YouTube. Yeah, I get that like a lot of these storylines are awesome, but if no one's if like it's not gonna bring views to the channel, we can't necessarily do it.
yeah, like we need to bring the views. Like like covering Watchmen brings a lot more views than covering Rom Space Knight.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Suck it, Marvel.
All right, here's a good one. How do you feel about covering the Clone Saga?
That's gonna be multi-part.
Yeah, that's gonna be multi-part.
Because there's like 3 to 5 omnibuy of parts for that.
Hellboy, I wouldn't mind. But the thing is, Hellboy is like a little bit more obscure than Spawn.
Yeah, a lot of these is not as easy as people think it is to market that. Is Jim Shooter still alive? Yeah, I think
he is actually. He did a convention a few years back near me.
Mm-hmm.
I actually recently bought the volume and I'm reading it. I love the movie. The movie from the 90s. That's the only movie they've ever made.
Are you sure? Because they made a new one that
No,
I heard was better.
No. So, yeah, Jared has been fired on account of cringe. There's a Batman Spider-Man crossover?
Yes, there is.
Dude, can you imagine the analytics for that one since Batman Spider-Man is my big one? It's on the list. Jared, haven't you talked about Alien Avengers?
So good. So good. I love that book. When it's done, I will definitely be covering that 100%. Death of Super. Okay, so Britt and I, on my channel, we did a whole coverage of Death of Superman and how it broke Superman as a character. So go check that out. Jared cringe, not never.
No.
No, but yeah. So yeah, I did. I covered Death of Superman, and it broke a lot of DC.
Yeah, I will say, even though I'm not really much of Superman, that is one Superman story I would be interested in to cover.
The one Superman story I get neck to cover. Let's kill him.
Yeah, Spider-Man, Superman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we can. That was a good one.
Oh, Question is a character I'd love to cover, but just it would not get the views.
And that would not. Yeah, it would be a cool show. It wouldn't get greenlit because no one knows who the Question is.
I mean, AVP comics, I would say maybe. Like if I were to do that, I'd probably do the original run of AVP comics.
Yes, original one.
Because it's Aliens and Predator. That would get the views.
Yeah, I think you can. Yeah, I'm fairly certain you could make that work.
Oh, God. Okay, we need to do Batman Predator. That's on the list.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
Oh, he called the
Oh.
number. He called the
Oh.
number.
You monster!
Jared, do you want to explain?
So what happened was in the 90 story. So Dick Grayson had left being Robin and became Nightwing. So they replaced him with a guy named Jason Todd. And he was a bit of an a-hole and fans didn't like him. So what DC did is they did a storyline where like he was kidnapped by the Joker and beaten. And then they did this thing at the end of the comic where you could call a number and vote on if he died.
A toll line, by the way.
A toll line. So people gamed it and like auto dialed it. So essentially you would get like a lot of numbers just to tell him to die.
Jared, we're covering Batman versus Predator at some point.
Yes. That one you could do.
In fact, that might be our next thing we cover. I'm kind of feeling it.
And Tevia, I've talked about that on my channel. Jeremy Adams' Green Lantern is amazing.
Oh, that reminds me. We should do RoboCop versus Terminator at some point.
Now, there's a Terminator versus Superman.
But Alien versus Predator versus Terminator, which, by the way, the thumbnail to that is just going to be Bill Paxton.
Oh, yeah, because he's in all of those.
Yeah.
That works really well. I love that.
Like, it's just Bill. The cover is going to be Bill Paxton. Like, I don't care if that is like detrimental to the view count. I'm sorry. The meme
In and of itself. He's the only one to be killed by a Terminator, an Alien, and a Predator.
RoboCop versus Terminator. Yeah, I could definitely like because it's RoboCop and Terminator. The names alone would bring people in.
That could work.
Oh God, we need to do more crossovers, like those crazy crossovers.
Yeah.
Oh, there's one that you won't want to do, but you have to admit would get the views. There's a Star Trek and Doctor Who crossover.
There's a Star Trek Green Lantern crossover. That would definitely work.
But come on, Star Trek is a big name. Doctor Who is a big name. You can't deny that we're bringing the people.
Yeah, but I don't like Doctor Who. That's just my thing.
That's the best part. I'm forcing you to read about Doctor Who.
Yeah, still wouldn't. I would find some ways to like say I have a scheduling conflict.
All of a sudden, he develops the I don't want to read this comic book itis.
Yes, exactly.
and it lasts just as long as the episode of Comixwatch goes. As soon as it does, because I had to find a sub for it. As soon as the episode's over, it's like, oh, I'm better.
Yep, because you're definitely not going to cover it twice.
Yeah. Rest in peace, you beautiful bastard. Rest in peace, Bill Paxton.
Yeah.
Oh God, Alien versus Superman.
That was great. I have that trade. That's a good one.
I mean, if RoboCop versus Terminator is popular, if it gets like really popular, yeah, I'll do it.
Mm-hmm. That's another good one that you guys would like to see.
All right, fair enough. I'm just trying to think of like some crazy crossovers that I've done. Oh, Archie versus Predator.
There's an Archie versus Punisher, dude.
I kind of want to do that just for like just the absurdity of it.
Well, Punisher could work, so that would definitely work.
And Archie's a big enough name.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God. Trying to think of some. I want to cover the Tomb Raider comics, the Mike Turner Tomb Raider comics.
Gee, hell yeah! So here's the thing. You can mitigate obscure stuff if there's hot women in the book.
I mean,
I covered Witchblade, dude. There's a reason why I covered multiple issues of Witchblade.
Actually, I don't think we've ever covered Witchblade on this channel.
We got it because you turned me on to Witchblade.
All right, yeah, Witchblade's on the list. But Tomb Raider I want to do just because Tomb Raider is a big enough name. But yeah, hot girls. God. Jared, what do you think about doing Harley Quinn Mad Love?
You could do that. Obviously, Harley Quinn is a big number. There's also a book that I actually read this month called It's just called Harley Quinn Welcome to Metropolis. It's her and Ivy relocate to Metropolis and screw with Superman.
Oh God, you watched the worst version, my friend.
Yeah.
I don't
No.
think so.
No. Again, there's a lot of what you guys have to understand about when you're working with like adapting comic books. There's some stuff you just cannot do because it will not. Because ignore it as a comic book fan. Approach it as a general audience member that doesn't know comics.
I think that might be a little bit too obscure for us to cover.
Way too
yeah.
obscure.
And then Tevya is see, I kind of wouldn't mind. Yeah, I think. See, like the way YouTube works is you have certain like audiences, and my audience is definitely like Western U.S. superhero comics. Like we can go a little bit outside of it, but as much as I think like Sonic is definitely popular enough that like a comic book person could cover it, but I don't think my audience would be into it.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's like again, there's plenty of books that I would love to cover, but I can't because again, it wouldn't work in terms of searching. There's a reason why I cover a lot of DC stuff as opposed to Marvel, even though I love Marvel.
But you want to know a way that like, so I will cover any non-corn cob pornographic comic if you pay me. So to do that is I have a Patreon. Sorry,
I see what you did there.
So if you want me to cover a certain comic, like you want me to do Sonic versus Mega Man, you want me to do the Alex DeCamp thing, you want me to do Star Trek Doctor Who, you go to Patreon and you become a member.
And if you become a member of my channel, we're about to do to start doing a monthly book club where we all vote on a graphic novel to read for the month, and then we discuss it.
Yep. So at the $10 level, you can pick what you can pick for the Friday to Friday you can pick what movies we watch. You can pick the comics we cover. So, and by the way, if you guys do that pick, I will. The only thing is, it cannot be a explicit comic. It cannot be pornographic. You guys know what I mean. That is the only limit. But you want me to cover Bleach? I'll do Bleach. You want me to do a romance comic from the 50s? Pay me and I'll do it. You know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's enough shilling for one moment. But please check out my Patreon. Please sign up. I could use more patrons. Question, Jared, what's Tevya saying?
Speaking of, that reminds me that we are on the 1 year in this. I'm wondering what Ultimate comic book is your favorite? Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
Definitely Spider-Man. Absolutely,
well,
Ultimate Spider-Man.
Douglas, if you want me to read Purgatogi, I cannot pronounce it, then sign up for my Patreon and do the Pick Your Poison tier, and I will do it. And he's like, bruh. Hey, I'm sorry, it was a natural segue. Like, Jared, you got to admit, that was a natural segue.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, I think let's kind of wrap it up here. We could probably go for near like 27 minutes, but I let's just kind of wrap things up here. Jared, what do you got going on, and where can people find you?
Yeah, so I just released the latest episode of Super Wonder Legacy, where Britt and I just bashed Death of Superman, talk about how it basically wrecked not only Superman, but the entire comic book industry. And so this Wednesday, I'm releasing my review of Absolute Superman. And yes, that was a good book. And in terms of like Under Two Capes, we're going to be talking about if we put the Bat family in in the Michael Keaton verse. And then obviously CLD. This Thursday, I'm doing my members panel, where if you want to hop on a panel and hang out with us, you can become a member. And in terms of movie night, we're covering Spider-Man 2. And then this week for Super Wonder, Britt and I are going to go live. This is going to be a live episode, and we're going to talk about comparing Superman and Wonder Woman's relationship to Black Panther and Storm.
Ooh. And I see some people are doing some questions. Unfortunately, we're done with questions for the stream. If you want to, okay, Black Reaper, I love you. He just totally ignored him. Jared just totally ignored him. He took one look and he was like, "Nope."
Wonderbat does not exist.
But no, if you want to ask me more questions, feel free to tune in next week for Comixwatch, where we're probably going to be doing a discussion topic. I don't know what it is yet, but coming up tomorrow, we're playing some Chrono Trigger. Going to have some fun. Wednesday at midnight, I'm doing a little bit of test stream for some new parameters, like hooking up OBS to restream to see how that goes. Friday Night Frenzy is going to be really good. We're talking about how there's about the war between mainstream journalism and the more indie content creators and like kind of what's going on with that. Jared will be here for that madness. Which by the way, Jared, the thumbnail is going to be Lois Lane is going to represent mainstream. Barbara is going to represent the new content creators, and it's going to be.
Can you put a big X over Lois?
No, I got you one better. It's going to be under Lois. It's going to be lame, and under Barbara, it's going to be not lame.
Unless, of course, you're Bruce Timm.
We don't talk about that. Thank you, Cece. Make sure to subscribe. Whatnot. Saturday, we're playing some Dragon Quest III, the 2D HD version that comes out on Thursday. I'm gonna have to not play it for like 2 days, but oh god, I've been waiting for this. It's gonna be so good. But yeah, and then yes, Screecher's coming. I'll keep guys updated on that. And thank you, Jared. Super Wonder for life.
Thank you.
This has been the Phoenix Press, and remember, I can only show you the door.